Hi everybody and welcome back to season 3 of the Let's Face It podcast. This is my journey with today I'm very happy to be with someone who's, I suppose, been a massive part of my life growing up within school. He taught me but has a very, very interesting story, has a very interesting outlook in life, and really looking forward to getting the chat with Marty Rea. Season 3 is brought to you by Used Cars NI. The best place to sell your car, the best place to buy a car if you're a car dealer. It's a great platform to use for selling your cars. But if you're just on the lookout for a new car, hit up www.usedcarsni.com and you will find whatever you need. A huge thanks to Anthony and everyone at Used Cars for your support. Without your support it wouldn't be possible, and a huge thanks to all you for your continued support every week, for listening and sharing and all that crack. We really appreciate it here and it means a lot to us. So yeah, thank you to Used Cars NI. What's crack, Marty?
Oh, good. Is there an auto key that I don't see here? Can't believe you're behind all that. I'm sort of looking for the other key behind there. Sort of going, there's something I to read here. But there's no way Donald remembered all that.
Fake it till you make it.
Well, as a man says, all good, Donald. Thanks for having me today.
No, and I've been trying to get you on basically since for a wee while, and I think that it's funny, Marty, because every week there's a different guest, and sometimes I'm looking at trying to get in, and I think we're living in a world where there's a lot of influencer people, big followers, and especially on Instagram and stuff, and you're nearly trying to get their bums on seats because they have big followings, and then as you grow and you learn and you sort of, as we talked about before, like study people and look into people, it's more like, are you really content in your own skin? And that's the questions I'm asking about them other people. But we all have a perception, and it's something that I talk about every week, that we all want to be like that, or when I get so many thousand followers, or if I whatever, then that'll bring me happiness. Mm-hmm. And something that I talk about a lot too, about, like, you know, if I get the pay raise, or if I get the new job, or if I lose a stone, or if I do this, then once I get there, it'll bring me happiness. But putting your happiness in someone else's cup or whatever is probably the wrong thing to do, and that's what I've sort of learned. But for a quick introduction, Marty taught me in school, but he also has his own, like, he's an ultra marathon runner, isn't that right?
Yep.
For Ireland as well. Pace setter. Are you still a pace setter?
I'm over London next weekend, and Manchester this weekend, so Belfast weekend after.
We'll talk about that anyway, and even your journey in that sort, in the athletics. But I suppose to start off all my podcasts, to sort of get a quick introduction, you can sort of tell me who you are, I suppose, and where you came from, and who you came from, and how it all started off with your life. Okay.
As you said, my name is Marty Rea. I went to Salle before I taught there. Started Salle in about 86, 87. Had a fantastic experience there. Left about 94. Same year as me and mate Mr. McGilligan started teaching. Now we're good friends and teaching together. Ended up didn't do great in school. Probably more just because I didn't have a massive interest. There was no such thing as GCSE and A-level PE in them days and stuff like that there. Sorry, I'm a PE teacher. So I was just going through the motions. Ended up participating keenly in school, and then went to Bangor Tech for a couple of years, done leisure studies, which got me into the second year of a sports science degree over in Burnell in London. So done 2 years over there. And then I came back here again. Loved London. Came back here again. Got into a wee bit of basketball coaching, stuff like that there. End up thinking, do you know what, it was a sports studies degree. Still didn't really know what I want to do. London's obviously far bigger than here, and there's much more opportunities. You know, over here in theory, you're in sport, you're a coach, you're a teacher. You know, there's not an awful lot. Maybe sport development now. There's an awful lot of other things that are going on now, sports analysis and things like that there. But there's still not an awful lot of professions in them. But I was very inspired by all my teachers in school, the Sean McGordy, the Paul O'Gara, the Danny Fultons of the world, Sean Crummy, who's no longer with us. And so I thought, you know what, I'd like to become a teacher. So I was going to go back across the water, got a place in Jordanstown luckily, done a year there. Took a year out, went over to Orlando for a year, so was like a fitness instructor in a hotel, Disney sort of thing, helping our obese American friends lose a few pounds. And then I thought, right, I better get a job here. Danny Fulton's job come up in school, 2001. He was leaving. And I was a big advocate of Danny. And I didn't even go for it. Brendy McCarry went for it. I thought, I can get back to England. There was just much more to do over there. So I went over to England. Taught there for 2 or 3 years. In the process, starting out with Kiva, my wife, who's an Irish teacher, so there wasn't much scope for Irish teachers over there. So I thought, I'm going to come back again after 3 years. And then Sean McGordy had a half a year's secondment or whatever in the St Mary's Teacher Training College. So he asked me, would I go in and do 2 or 3 weeks in there, or 2 or 3 months in there to start off with. So I started off there, and then he didn't come back for another 6 months. I got in, then he did come back, and Aidan Hamill, who was principal at the time, kept me on for another year. Done another year, and then sort of got me a permanent. So been there since 2003 possibly. So maybe 20 years in the Salle and 7 years before that. And probably another 5 or 6 years left. I don't know, 10 years probably, depending on how the mortgage is going down. But that's basically, so I'm a PE teacher in the Salle, do a bit of running in the background. Basically started that over in England when I went there to teach. I was playing basketball at the time, playing a bit of GAA, but the GAA was probably about an hour to travel into London. Basketball, everyone was just bigger, stronger, more powerful. I thought it was good, then you go over there and you're not so good. So I just ended up going down to the gym. In them days there was no Sky, so I went into the gym to watch football, United playing or whatever, and I ended up in the treadmill just watching United playing. Before I knew I was doing sort of an hour in the treadmill, but I didn't know it was an hour in the treadmill because I was just sitting watching football, because there was no such thing as Sky, or if there was a thing as Sky, it was a fortune then. And then sort of got hooked in that a wee tiny bit, and then I used to see people running past my front door and going, it's a running club, but I can't join a running club, like I'm not a runner. I wouldn't say I was frightened, but I just, runners were runners then. It's a wee bit different now. The running scene's changed a wee bit. We've got park run, and we've got every sort of second person runs, even to keep fit or whatever. It wasn't really like that then. So it was a bit, they're sort of stigmatized into, these fit guys that, sort of sad loners. Then I went along, even just for company, just went along, because I was over there by myself and just started doing wee races, and then sort of figured out I was relatively okay at it. And then went the reverse route. First race, 100 miler. Didn't do great on it, and then I'm working my way down to 5k, and then I'm working my way back up to 100 mile again, that sort of thing. So that's my journey, and I don't know, 2 minutes there.
Yeah.
So maybe dig into a wee bit deeper now.
Yeah, 100%. But you mentioned there's a lot of things there, and we will talk about, I suppose, in the next hour or so. The big one, which we'll leave for now, like the amount of time that you spent in the heart of West Belfast, and all the issues that come with that, and the people that you've met, and you had the pleasure of working with me for 7 years, which we'll talk about too later on. But like you said,
that's why I have no hair on.
You said you were a bit of a runner, but I think that's again typical Marty Rea, sort of underplaying how good you actually are and what you've actually achieved throughout your career. But I actually didn't know that's how you actually got into running, or in the running, because you were over in London and you sort of maybe felt a bit lonely and trying to be a part of something, and that's really cool. But was there a point in time where you sort of went, what, I could have a crack at this, like I could have a go at this, because there was different things that came along, and I remember even in school that you used to be coming in and there used to be packages sitting there from Skins and different things, and you had these endorsements long before people got endorsements. So to say you're a bit of a runner is probably a bit of an understatement. You were playing it down a wee bit.
I'm glad you listened a wee bit in school. There was running wasn't on my radar ever. Like I hated running in school. I wasn't good at running in school. Like you got it easy in school. Our PE was, we left La Salle, we went up the Glen Road, we done PE in South Link pitches. But if I did that with you guys, by the time we get to South Link, that's the end of PE. You're busted. We're not playing football. I'm busted. Now we wouldn't get them to the front door with it and being busted, sort of thing. So I was busted by the time we got to South Link. All the good soccer players were playing soccer. I was alright. I was nowhere near good, but that was just the norm. So then, as I say, England was a wee bit different. You didn't have to run on roads, you can run on farmers' fields and stuff, so it was a lovely, I was sort of living in the Essex countryside, and it was just lovely way of seeing places. Say every weekend, the boys would go away to a different race, and in fairness, a lot of it was just to, go away, do a race, have a drink. I didn't really drink, so the drinking bit didn't really appeal to me. I'd just go and walk and have a bit of crack and get done. So it was more seeing. Obviously, when you're in England, it's much bigger than here, so you could jump in the car and go up to Manchester for the day, go to London for the day, Brighton for the day, whatever. There's such a big scope. And then, as I say, I realised that the longer we go, the sort of better I am. I'm not fast, but I seem to have a bit of endurance, and I genuinely found that by accident. I didn't, I wasn't to know that. Then after about 2 years, I remember coming back here for the Maybank holiday, and I was playing. I thought I was a fit basketball player then, or a fit Gaelic player then, and I jumped into the relay with a basketball group to do the Belfast Marathon. And in fairness, my mum and dad had brought me down to watch the marathon when it was on Belfast. It was a big deal. It was a big deal back in the 80s, sort of 90s. But I would never have thought I'd have ran a marathon. It was an awful long way. I'd done the first leg of it, and I'd done the first leg of the marathon. It was like 6 mile or whatever, but it was a lovely day, so I just kept running. Sounds a bit like Forrest Gumpish, but I'd pair basketball boots on, pair Michael Jordans, I'd most of my basketball gear. Took me about 5 hours. Busted, couldn't walk for 2 or 3 weeks, and I thought, what? I've just done a marathon, and for me that was a big deal. I don't think it's probably as big a deal now, because an awful lot more people either do it, or else because social media is so big, people know that they do it. I don't know. Back then, there was no social media, so you might have done it, but no one knew you did it. So then I thought that the year after I got a job as a teacher, and during the summer holidays, I thought, I'm earning a few quid here. We'll go away on holiday. So I'm going to pick a random race. Internet had only sort of, it wasn't massive then, sort of thing. So looked in America, want to go to Colorado, the Rockies. So I googled a race called the Leadville 100, and which I know now is a pretty big, famous race sort of thing, and 16,000 feet up, and very, very, very a lot of altitude in it. Didn't really think much about the altitude, and I'd start going out with Kiva then. Do you know what? I'll bring Kiva over, and we'll see how we get on, slumming it, so to speak. And went over, and I did that race, and I'll be honest, it was 100 mile. I only got as far. I wasn't marathon training. When I think about it now, it's sort of suicidal. But I'd only been doing, I don't know, 15, 20 mile a week, just out 3 or 4K a day. I jumped into that. Ended up running about 87 miles. And I stopped to take my shoe off once because my feet were killing me, as they would be because I didn't train for it. And I couldn't get back on because the altitude would make them, and listen, didn't take an awful lot to persuade me not to finish, sort of thing, like, so it didn't finish. But I thought, I'd done 87 miler sort of thing, and then that got me hooked. And then I was lucky enough, got into some of the longer events, was relatively successful. Got a call from the Irish selectors about an ultra running wasn't that big then, sort of thing. For a couple of 100k races, done a couple of 100k races. Relatively good at that, and then I thought, the slower I go, the weaker I am, so I'm gonna go longer. So up to a couple of 100 miles, done a couple of 24-hour races, and then I was intrigued by the marathon, and then come back down to the marathon, try to get a bit of speed in the legs. The pace only came basically as a result of the ultras. So it would be ways to get into marathons. I'd write their marathon, send them an email or a letter, say, listen, I'm training for 100k here, which is basically 2 marathons and 10 miles, and I'd say, listen, I don't mind running round, sticking a flag on me, and people can follow me, sort of thing. So that was the original. There was no pacing in Belfast or London or anything, so I basically sort of started it by being stingy because I didn't want to pay 100 quid into a race because I wasn't racing it. All I want to do is run around and help me, number one, and help other people, number two. So that's how sort of pacing started, and now it's, as I say, I'm going over to Manchester this weekend to help a few people out. Following weekend I'm over in London doing the 3 hour pacing, probably about my 20th time now. And in Belfast they've a good pacing group. I may or may not jump in, just depending on how they're getting older. So depending on how the legs feel. But it now gives me a different outlook with the pacing, because I'm just purely helping people. It's nothing to do with me now. Whereas in them, it would have just been, do you know what? I have to do a 30-mile training run Saturday anyway. Might as well jump into Belfast. Might as well jump into London. Might as well do that. So it was more helping me then. But now, as I say, it's turned into helping other people. So
incredible. So, and then to put in the like a lot of my listeners, you know, would be sort of the everyday person that maybe does an old park run or does a 5k, and I think over lockdown people were doing their 5ks and posting them up flat out over thing and trying to get sub 20 or whatever, like 100k, like, and you're just saying that like as if like I'm some sort of other runner, and I'm far from it. But surely that takes some sort of mental strength, or how do you build some like a resilience? Because I know even for myself there, Marty, like going into maybe doing the gym and stuff, the weights isn't too bad, but you know, particularly over lockdown, whenever we're with the county getting fucking running programs to do, and I'm going to myself, honestly, like I couldn't think of anything worse. Not because of it, it's all mental, like all mental.
It must be because I'm physically not cut out to be a runner.
Okay,
do you know what I
so
mean?
where does that come from?
I'm
that mental strength.
Well.
Or is it mental strength, or what is it?
I don't. It probably is now, but at the start it was probably just more confidence, because I think in my own personal journey, I found out I was good at it.
Yeah.
So I wanted to go. I thought to myself, do you know what? If I go shorter, I have to go faster.
Yeah.
If I go longer, I have to go slower. Geez, slow's a good word. Why not go slower? Even though I have to go longer. And plus a lot of races I was entering were in the Alps or whatever. So it was like running from Switzerland to Germany. So it was beautiful. So I was like, I didn't see it as racing sort of thing. I listen. See, this morning I done 8 mile. It bores the life out of me just running around Allentown or whatever, unless I'm running with, you know, most of 99% of my runs now with other people. So every day I would still run every day, but most mornings I'm running with someone else. We're just running for an hour talking. So I don't see it as training, whereas you probably see it. And
it may run as like hell to me.
It's training, 100%, 100%. But you're not built for running. Yeah. I'm built a wee bit more for running, but I think it was confidence to start off with. I didn't like it, probably. I suppose like anything else, you don't like anything that you're not good at. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Because why would you? When you're in team sports, you're probably a 50% chance of winning. So if you're playing somebody else, A plays B, A or B's gonna win. As a runner, I'd probably go my whole career and never win anything. Or somebody will go. I'm lucky enough that I have one, but most people will go their whole career and not win anything. They're just running for the sake of running, or cycling, or swimming. Whereas when you're in team sports, and that's why a lot of people have the comfort of team sports. You know, my wee girl could go up to play a match tonight, and I might watch her, and she comes back. Oh well, how'd you get on? Oh, well, won. She might have touched the ball. She still thinks she's brilliant. She thinks she's a winner. She thinks here, and rightly so, but the team sports and individual sports are just something totally different. Like, you know, the chances are you're going to win a team sport at some stage, unless you never win a game. In theory, I may never win a race, so I'm always a loser in the perception of a sports person. Do you know what I mean? So the team sport and individual sport thing fascinates me, and that's why a lot of people don't like, they always start off with team sports to get that confidence, and then, you know, there might be, what happened to me was, I started playing a lot of basketball, and I was getting fitter and fitter playing basketball, and that gave me the confidence that all of a sudden I'm fit, so I'm fit, I might start running. Whereas if I thought I'm going to start running, it would never ever have happened, sort of thing, like, you know. And then I spent when I was a year in Jordanstown, I played senior football for us, probably about 2000, and listen, I'm a brutal footballer, but I was fit, because of my basketball and because of a wee bit of run. So then it gives you a wee bit more confidence that you're, you know, and in your head of people saying you're fit or you're fast, you believe, you know. So then that's where confidence comes from, sort of thing. And then once you're confident, I think you keep your confidence unless you've reason to lose it. And in my eyes, I thought, do you know what, with running, and as soon as I see him starting to get slower, I'm going to go longer. Yeah. So, you know, people ask me now what I've done a marathon in. It doesn't matter what I do it in now. I don't, you know, judge myself by that there. I just go longer, and or I'll pace it, or I'll do something else so they can still stay in the game. Whereas if it's soccer or Gaelic, like, I'm 46, probably can't play, you know, at a high level. Whereas I'm going to run on the marathon next thing, so I'll be standing beside, you know, Mo Farah on the start line. I'll be here from that wall away from him. he's an Olympian, whereas I'm not going to play football with, Ronaldo or Messi sort of thing. So it's a nice, it keeps me in the game, it keeps me motivated, it keeps, it's that's what I enjoy about the sport now. It's going to keep me, hopefully, if my hips hold up or my whatever,
There's always a place for you in it.
There will always be. You can go as a veteran, you can do all that. You can't, you guys get such a pounding in Gaelic and hurling and soccer and hockey, and you get such a pounding that you can only go for so long. And then you probably find a lot of guys at the end of their career then take up running or cycling or triathlons and all, because they've got this mentality that they want to compete, so they need to compete in something else sort of thing. And when you're running, a lot of it's just linear. A lot of people think running's easy, and it is, because the first day you go and all you're doing is literally going from A to B, and people get hooked. And what watch will I wear? Here, somebody told me there's a new pair of trainers that make you run faster, But that all comes after that. But yes, it is a simple sport, and that's why a lot of people come to it probably after their first sport, I think anyway, which is what happened to me. I didn't start running till I was 25, 26, never ran before, didn't like it.
And that's so interesting, like even a couple of things you said out there, even confidence coming from being a team player. And I'm with you there, and I talked to Mick Conlon a lot about this, and I was like, Mick, do you think it'd be harder or easier for you to stay what you're doing? Like, you're in control of your result ultimately, or of how you perform, but I'm not, because there's 26 other people on the panel. But like if we win on Sunday next week, say against Dublin, then I'm happy. But if do you know what I mean? Obviously,
I struggle with that with team sports. I don't know how people do it. I genuinely don't. I'm involved in a couple of teams now and stuff like that there, and doesn't matter how good you are. You're only as good as your weakest person. Yeah. So you can be in the gym on Sunday morning, doing whatever you're doing, and another guy could be sitting with a hangover. Yeah. You two are going to play in the same team on Tuesday night. Yeah. So it doesn't. What's when you doing your press ups when he's sitting with a hangover? Whereas I know that everything I do, I'm accountable for. Yeah. So, see if I'm running Sunday morning, I'm not out Saturday night, because see if I have a bad run on Sunday morning, I'm the one accountable for it. Whereas you could turn up on Sunday morning, you've probably done it, a few drinks in you, now, and listen, you may or may not have a good game, but you're playing with fire a wee tiny bit. Do you know what I mean? And I listened to Fitzy's podcast, and he was brilliant. Yeah. He was brilliant. The way he describes the situation, with the county and stuff like that there, he was absolutely spot on. You're putting in far too much, and you're not getting out enough. Doesn't matter how good. We have got some guys that have been watching the county playing for the last 30 years. We've got some guys that we get on Cork's team or Kilkenny's team, and they're people talk about such and such, he's insane trainer. So it doesn't matter. He's going to end up playing in the team with other guys that aren't insane trainers and aren't as talented. So he's going to be very average. Is he okay with that? I struggle with that. And
I'm with you there 100%. And it's like. And I talk about maybe like an exchange of energy. And I've been there from I got out of rehab 4 years ago. You're back on the county panel, like you're out 5 nights a week. It's a full-time job. It's an investment. And the last 4 years, like, you're picking up injuries, and you're going like, and just to back up what you said there about Fitzy, because I listened back to it a couple of times actually, because of his outlook and the amount of energy I'm putting in versus what I'm getting out. Like, I've missed far more matches than I've actually played. And then whenever you get injured, like, other things happen. Obviously, life gets involved, and then you're getting distracted, and it's just like, whereas you're solely focusing on you, and that's just it. Like, if you get injured, and you're back running. Like, if I get injured, I'm trying to backtrack.
But even if I have a bad race, like, it doesn't really matter, because I'm only that, I might go decide over and race in Switzerland. Yeah. I'm gonna lose 99% of my races, sort of thing. So I'm not in it to win it. Yeah. Because in running, there's one best runner in the world. Yeah. And he's the best. So I could win a race. I could go and do any park run Saturday and possibly win it. Doesn't make me the best. I'm not foolish enough to think. Whereas when you're playing team sports, you're there. You're there to win that day, sort of thing. Most races, there's no chance I'm gonna win, which is a crazy mindset. So yes, I set myself goals and stuff like that there, but I can still have a bad race but still have a good day, so to speak, because maybe it's in a nice place, or maybe I've beaten Jimmy, who I've never beat before, or maybe I've beaten somebody in my age group that I've never beat before. So there's so many other variables. Whereas if you're a team sports player, it's black or white. You're black or white. Did you win or did you not win? Do you know what I mean? And and as I say, it sort of put me off I was at the county match there last Saturday, Antrim and Armagh, and I'm going,
all that for that.
99% of them boys haven't been able to play for a club all year. For that? What?
Yeah.
Like, and I look at the guys that are doing all that, and I'm like, what? I mean, are you happy with it? You know, are you happy with that there? Not, I mean, I couldn't cope with that. Your whole raison d'etre is to be a Gaelic player or a hurler, and you're saving yourself for that. And I genuinely, me and Fitzy have spoken about it. That conversation you had with Fitzy was back in the old days. For me, you and Fitzy are sitting in the P room, we're just talking crap to each other, and it just reminded me of that. You know, McGorton, we have these debates every single day, and there's no right or wrong, but the older you get, the more you might sort of side with our way of thinking, sort of thing.
No,
like, you know,
100%.
Because, and it's not a. I can understand if you're Dublin playing, you're doing all that, because at the end of the day, you may have a chance of winning All Ireland, but. See, what I struggle with is everyone is fascinated by wanting to be the best instead of wanting to be their best.
So the best versions of them.
Most people can't be the best. I can't be the best. Eli Kipchoge's the best.
Yeah.
No, there's guys that I beat. Guys that I'll be back in Belfast next Sunday before some people have finished the marathon. I'll have flown home before them, but there will be somebody who will beat me by well over an hour, and there'll be another 6,000 people in Ethiopia, if they turned up in the day, would beat me by over an hour. So, like, I'll not be looking to see what place I finish. It'll probably say 1,000, but that doesn't make me the 1,000. You know, I'm not daft enough to know that there's not people out there. You know, so like, I don't try and be the best. I try and be my best. If I tried to be the best, I would have to sacrifice so many things. I would have to sacrifice my family. I would have to sacrifice my work. I would have to, and so, too many people do that. Too many people in my eyes, strive to be the best at what they're doing. Whether it's the best teacher, whether it's the best, you know, car salesman, whether it's the best runner, whether it's the best Gaelic player, and they want to be that top 1%. But in everything else, they're down to 99%. Yeah. They're the bottom rank. They've lost their marriage. They've no relationship with their kids. They've failed in something else. They haven't looked after their body. They put on weight. They don't want to put on weight. They've gained diabetes. You know, but but you know what? I'm the best teacher there is, or I'm the best runner there is, or I'm the best footballer there is. What's wrong with wanting to be in the top 10%, but being the top 10% in everything? Yeah. You know. Yeah. Be the top 10% as a runner. Be the top 10% as a teacher. Be the top 10% as a daddy or a mummy. Why are people fascinated by being like? You and I probably don't know too many people that are in that 1%. No. Like, the people that I know that are close to it would swap everything for my life. Yeah. You know, because they've given up. They've got there and they're like, "Is this it? Is this it? Is this it?"
Kind of backs up my point there at the start about I'll be happy when. You know, why can I not be happy now, enjoying processes?
That wonderful, as my old form teacher say, that wonderful day that never comes. You know, when you say, "Here, I'll have my homework in the morning." Yeah. That wonderful day that never comes. That might never come. When is that day? Yeah. How do you know you're that 1%? Yeah. You know, is Elon Musk the 1% because he's the richest man in the world now? And then you see him on BBC yesterday, and he looks very unhappy because everyone hates him and everyone, he's doing this wrong, he's doing that wrong. So he's there. Is it? You see. Footballers, and they've just won the FA Cup or the World Cup, and they're like, that's their 1% moment, and the next day, it's back to ground zero again, and it's like, who are they going home to? Do they have a girlfriend? No, they don't have a girlfriend because their girlfriend left them because they're out training 5 nights a week or 10 nights a week. Are they going back to their kids? They don't have time to have kids because they don't have a girl. So it's people are fascinated by the best instead of their best. I think anyway. Don't. You're probably not going to get that 1%. Yeah. Don't gamble on it. What's wrong with being top 10%? Yeah. Nothing.
Yeah, and like, because whenever, like, if you're doing everything in your power to be in that position in all aspects of your life and sort of having, I think a balance is a good word to use there, then I can put my head in the pillow, and that's where I'm kind of at now. Do you know what I mean? And I was talking about this last week, that whenever I was doing a talk and someone asked me about hurling, and like I explained like how much it meant to me growing up, and like that most mornings in school there I'm hitting the ball against the wall, and I actually described that I was an addict long before I picked up a drug or a drink, 100%. Because I was escaping in I was escaping on that wall. It made me happy because it didn't. Then I couldn't focus on what was actually going on inside my mind. Yeah. All these problems that was just dancing about. So how did I then escape? It was through the wall. It was through playing a match or training. So what happens whenever you're away from that? Then it brings like so much unhappiness and so much discomfort. Then all of a sudden, then you find drink and you find drugs, and hurling goes boom, and I find this sort of fucking new escape. So constantly you're running from escape, the friend group, the club, doing all these things and trying to find happiness in other places.
But you're looking at 1%. See the
100%.
But see the drink. You're looking at 1% because you want to be the happiest person in the world.
Yes.
And to get there, you have to take the drink. You want to be
confident around women. You have to do
100%. You know 100%. So everything is that you want to be the best of something
100%.
rather than just being same with Facebook, Instagram, whatever. You want to be. Everyone wants to look as if they're the best. Just be your best or be their best, know, and you're 100% right. And you were, if you were playing hurling, and you probably, it still happens, and sometimes we might have sort of said, don't do something else. Now, I do it with all the soccer players in school. Oh, we've loads of boys at the academy, and during P1 play soccer. I think what's the point playing soccer? You do play soccer at night. Why don't you go in the gym or do something different? They just, they're putting all their 1% into their, I'm going to be, I'm like, and it looks like I'm knocking them, but I'm using experience. My 20 years I've seen 20 years of people going through the soccer system. You had Cricky Gallagher and the boys on. I remember him going through. Everyone looks at me as if I don't know. He doesn't know what he's talking about. How does he know? Because everyone's sort of guided by their parents, but most parents haven't been through it before. They only go through it with their own kids. Whereas teachers, we've the privilege or whatever it is of going through it with seeing 5 or 6 different groups doing it and seeing the mistakes they're making and seeing that. So you're trying to, you're coming in hurting and guess what, we want to feel like it, and I'd be like, here, magic, I'm not going to tell you you're brilliant all day long because my fear is, see, when you get older and someone says you're not brilliant, how do you deal with it? How do I deal with it? And that's resilience. So you're probably. In school, you probably thought I was a whatever because why does he not think, I won this and I won. And here, don't get me wrong, you'll get a pat in the back all the time, and there's a time and place for it. Maybe when you needed it when you're older, I might have sent you a text saying, here, well done. When you need it, you don't need it as a 14-year-old. Everyone's telling you you're brilliant as a 14-year-old. You were brilliant as a 14-year-old. I don't think I ever told you were brilliant. You probably, but you were the best 13, 14, because you were like 6 foot and everything was magic in hurling wise. But we didn't go on and on and on about it because I'm looking 10 years down the line, and we'd have had this debate in our P department. Well, don't we make it in 10 years in hurling? Will he still be there in 10 years in hurling? Do you know what I mean? And you were and you weren't. Do you know what I mean?
Still am
you weren't, and then
there.
You come back again, and then but you wouldn't have seen that journey as a 14-year-old. You just think you're going to be the best minor, being the best senior. But we've seen that happen to a million people, So we try and. I think the good thing about our P department is we try and downplay as many things as humanly possible. When you need a wee lift, you might get a wee lift, but it mightn't be the way that the signals might be different. It mightn't be magic because there's too many people then get the senior and when they're one day they're told they're crap and they can't deal with it.
Yeah.
My mummy says I'm brilliant. You've always said I'm brilliant. My coach says I'm brilliant. Now I'm very, very normal. That's when anxiety. That's the problem with our world. That's when people are told too many, I wouldn't say lies, but people are told all the time they're good. We've got this new sort of thing in society that you have to be super positive and tell people. To me, it's almost, yes, you need to be super positive, but not in a super positive way. You have to do it with, hidden messages or whatever way you want to do it. But with me, a lot of it's hidden messages. And
being present. And I think even just what I said, like, it's so interesting because, like, that doesn't bring me then, like, I know where I'm at now. Do you know what I mean? In terms of even Antrim, in terms of that sort of list. And I know if I sort of maybe sacrifice half of what I'm doing here, that I could probably be more consistent there. 100%. I know that, but
what's that going to get you?
100. So someone actually said this to me the other week. They're like, I'm actually so happy you have other things going on in your life because, you genuinely thought that was the be all and end all. So if I'm number 26 next Saturday against Dublin, so be it, because I have a good balance in my life, and that isn't the be all and end all. But is it great to be a part of it? Great, of course it is. But on Monday morning, if we get beat, or if I don't get on, or if I play, is it going to make me depressed for the week? Am I going to fucking bury my head and drink 100%. Or drugs? No, because
but there's your 10%. Antrim is the 10%.
Yeah.
You know, it's not the 1%. 1% is the best player in Kilkenny.
Yeah.
Or the best player in Limerick.
Yeah.
You're 10%. Your county, so you're at that level, and you know some weeks you get on, some weeks you'll not. You know, so you're maybe dipping down to 10, 11, 12%. But if your life is it 10%? It's much. There's no point in sacrificing a couple of percent there to bring your life down to 25, 50%. Because, as you say, as I say to everyone, can you sleep at night? You know, that's the answer to everything. Can you sleep at night? And see if you can't, your percentages are wrong.
100%.
I think.
I agree with you. And then, right, so we were talking about school there, and you did sort of say some of the things that you do in terms of a department and playing things down. Obviously, I was built up so much. I know all the soccer players. Like I was in a sort of era with the likes of your Shayna Fosters and Stevie Fallon and Cormac Deary and these people who were, I'm going to make it, I'm going to make it, I'm going to make it. And they were being told probably by their parents, who, as you just said there and alluded to, that they hadn't lived it, that didn't know, but they were being told by such and such and these academy coaches, and then they're all back here, and we talked like Stephen Mallon and Cricky were on, and like a lot of the times these people then are getting involved in gambling or whatever to try and put their happiness somewhere else, so they're a bit anxious. But you said there about downplaying it and maybe your approach, and we talked there at the start there about, you know, maybe you communicated it different things the wrong way, and you said there also you probably thought that I was like, I probably did think that you were a dick in school, because you weren't feeding my ego, but you sent me a message. And I was looking at this morning in 2019, just whenever I got out of rehab, and just saying well done about the article or something that I had. I don't really know what article it was. But you said in the message that you were the happiest and most content person that you know. And that's down to the people who you surround yourself with. And again, something that I've just found out. And like a lot of the things that you relayed to me in school, I'm probably putting into practice now, but didn't understand then, so I just thought you were a dick. Now, a lot of it was down to me being unable to listen, because I probably didn't want to listen, because I probably wanted the wrong things or the wrong sort of whatever.
But it's not your fault. It's
not your fault either.
No. But it's never the child's fault.
100%.
It's everything that surrounds them.
So
it can never be your fault. You talk about the soccer boys.
Yeah.
Of course, they think they're going to make it across the water because they've been told to bring it every week, and they're being given free gear, and they're going over the train for Man United and Norwich, and like we've 2-3 people a week go over and train with all them, and they come back with all the gear, and I think, you know, who am I to say? I mean, I can't tell them they're not going to make it. I'll sort of give them a bit of a side eye and say, here, I'm not a gambler, but what are the percentages sort of thing. You look at someone like Sean Ward. You know, Wardy's as good as any of them boys, but he's very, very clever. He thought, I'm not going across, I'm going to stay here and make it brilliant. He's just made a 750th appearance. None of our guys have done anything, you know, and most guys wouldn't lace his boots. Do you know what I mean? And so it's not their fault. I can't fight with their parent, and it might not be the parents' fault, because the parents might be getting fed from the clubs and the academies, and everyone's looking for that person that is the one, you know, that big guy. But you know, let's sit and think when we do this sometimes. Who's made it to West Belfast across the water? You're talking one hand. Do you know what I mean? I want everyone to make it. I want all them guys, and I follow them all, and I send a message, you know, and I'm delighted when they do it. But what is making it then? You know, is it playing one game and then coming back, and then you're coming back here, you have no qualifications, and then, you know, you're back, and then you're my classroom assistant all of a sudden, you know, and it's like, well, last 10 years ago you're telling me you're playing for Man United, now you're my classroom assistant, bit of a kick in the back. But most people are humble enough, and you know, like you, they get it. It's years, and it's experience, and it's living life that teach it. I can't teach. You know, you're right. It's very hard for me to communicate all them things to you. I know exactly what you're doing wrong. I know why you're doing it. But how do I get that in? You know, how do I ingrain that in you? Do you know what I mean? You know, you're saying that you probably thought I was a dick, and you probably did, because some of the not the tactics, but you know, you're probably sitting thinking, why is he getting on like that, or what, you know? And I can just hope, I'm gambling a bit after me sending my gambler, that in 10 years time you're gonna say, do you know what, he was right then, or that's why he did that. Maybe he's not a dick, and sometimes, when I first came into teaching, I used to think, see first years, I think someone told me this here, I can't remember whether I thought it, I think someone told it to me, like, you treat first years like, you don't look at them, you don't talk to them. Second year you start getting a wee bit, and then by the time you're sixth year you have a really, really good relationship, because you have to build kids' resilience up, you have to build their respect up, you have to build their, have to let them know that you're in a different environment here, sort of thing, like, so like I probably didn't get into any conversations with you until you're sort of fourth year and fifth year. That's when we start treating you like men a wee tiny bit, like, and we're giving your own opinions, and obviously if you're in GCSE PE classes or BTEC, we're having these debates about morals in sport and psychology in sport, and that's how we get into debates. And you said before, we get into so many fights about so many different things, but I don't know about you, but like, I think the good thing, one of the good things about my job is that if you're fighting in school, 9 times out of 10 the next day you forgot about it. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I've taught in girls' schools before, and see if you're fighting like hold it against you for the rest of your life. See, with boys, you could be tooth and nail, and then the next day I was like, was that yesterday I was on a conversation, or was that there last, and you'd be alright, sir, how's it going? And then that's you back to zero. There's no grudges being held. Same as a parent. I don't know if I'm doing a good job as a parent, and I won't do until you're giving your kid away at their wedding, sort of thing. You know what? They didn't do too badly. They did this, they did that, or else that they have done badly. So you don't. There's no right or wrong answers, and there's no. You just have to hope that kids trust the system and trust. Don't get me wrong. There's some bad teachers. I may be one of them, but we do go through university to learn how to teach and to learn. We are students of human behaviour, and that's basically our job. It's not just to get them a GCSE or an A level. We're students of human behaviour, and probably for 50% of our students in school, doing a good job is getting them to stick here and getting them out without them being, harmed, without them being, making, hoping they've made friends, hoping they're comfortable in school.
Social skills, everything that comes with it.
See if you've done that, you've done a good. I think you've done a good job. I'm not overly bothered about the A's and the B's and the C's. See, that'll all come organically.
Yeah.
And you want parents to help you out with that and stuff. I'm more interested in seeing how the whole person turns out, like, and me here sitting with you 10 years later is a prime example of that. Yeah. You're the person that first, second and third year was probably a nightmare. Fourth and fifth, sixth, you wised up a wee tiny bit. You started to become a wee bit more confident because you're so good at what you were doing and stuff like that there. You started to listen a wee tiny bit more, and then, so you're, and then obviously you had your troubles and all that. And that probably came sometimes with probably misplaced confidence or too much confidence, or people drilling too much into you and not being, and I don't know, you and I have never really discussed this, even though we're we're pretty friendly, of how you did end up in that journey. Maybe it was that you had so many highs from sport that
it was papering over all the cracks.
That maybe you get bored of some of it, and you were looking highs in other parts of the world, and to get highs you needed to do this, you need to do that there, and as you say, papering over cracks. So there were fake highs, and I always say that, some of the guys I run with, keep your highs low and keep your lows high, and that's how I know if people are high all the time, that doesn't work for 100%. Me. It's a massive warning sign for me, because I don't know anyone like that.
Yeah. That's why, like, even to be honest with you, Marty, like, well, I'll answer your question here. We'll probably get into it another time. There's a whole lot of podcasts in my sort of, but the long and short of it is that it was my safe place. School was my safe place. I was comfortable with the surroundings, comfortable with the people in it, and then you make that transition in the university, and all of a sudden it's not your safe place.
And then the funny, because I still tell the boys that school days will be the best day of your life. Our boys don't understand. See even like in the last day of term there, and you think all the boys aren't going to come in. They do come in because schools is what if they don't come in, what are they doing? Yeah. Do you know what I mean? 100%. Like gone are days where people just didn't come in for. Now they're all in because they're having better. They're not about the school. And they're with all them. It's the best days of your life. Yeah. See as soon as you leave school, you're out in a big bad world, and it's university, new friends, more pressure. You know, they are the best days of your life, school. You know,
100%.
and it is that safe place that you talk about.
You mentioned there are a couple of things. There's a whole, like, obviously it's changed an awful lot throughout your sort of time teaching, like mental health, mental ill health, I suppose, and like my views on this are very strongly, even though I'm very much an advocate for good mental well-being and mental health and stuff like that. But there's things like depression and anxiety and fear, like these things are feelings, but you don't have depression, you don't have anxiety, you haven't been diagnosed as that. So there's two different types of people here, who are actually ill, or they're just feeling a certain way at that period of time. That's my understanding of where, in terms of where I'm at now. And so if I'm feeling anxious about something, then you go back into this toolbox and go, you know what, I was feeling this before, but I know how to get over it. This isn't me for the rest of my life. Yeah. But there's a lot of this now within sort of schools. I can only imagine, even whenever I was there, that no, this person's anxious, so he can't do X, Y, or Z. No, but if you actually do X, Y, or Z, it will not make you feel anxious anymore.
Yeah.
What's your sort of view? And obviously resilience comes in this. It's such a sort of, there's a fine line, because obviously we don't want the sort of, obviously 100%. There's people watch this podcast looking help and looking kind of answers, and that's great too, and to do.
You're tripping me up here. You're going to try and make me cross this thing, because we've had this debate before. That's why I said the mellow. Let me tell you. You're right, and I'm glad you said that there's two types. You know, there's people that are anxious, and there's people that think they're anxious,
yes, or feel it sometimes.
Or feel anxious, but what are they anxious about? Do you know what I mean? Like, some people are anxious because they've, you know, their cat wasn't well when they left for work in the morning, and then there's some people anxious because their daddy hasn't returned for the last 3 nights at home. You know, that person should be anxious. The person whose cat, you know, wasn't well when they left, they can't be the same anxiety levels. So in my eyes, the norms have moved.
Yeah, but hold on, you said they can't be the same, and that's fine, right? But them two people might be feeling the same thing, right? Mm-hmm. And I get the result might be different, or the whatever's happened, the impact, say, might be completely different, but they might be feeling the same way. Now, this, say, Y is the person whose dad hasn't come home in 2 days or whatever, and X is the person whose cat isn't that well. Mm-hmm. Then how do we make that sort of? And I think the best way of just doing it is just being straight with that person and being like, hold on a minute, what is actually really going on? Do you want to put it in a bit of perspective and say, see that person who's next to you, his dad hasn't come home in 2 days, you're worried about that. Come on, how do we get over this? How do we get on with it?
I don't know the answer, but I would rather stop it at the origin. How does that person get to a stage that he's anxious when his cat's not well? How does he ever get that stage? Like he mustn't be, you know, what, you know, the process for him to get there. I mean, what's the worst case scenario for if his cat isn't, you know, why does his head think why are his feelings that high, that he's that anxious? There must be, you know, what's the worst case scenario in that? Whereas the other guy's worst case scenario is his dad hasn't come back, or he's gonna have a horrendous family life whenever the daddy gets back. You know, I can't articulate it into words, but I would rather stop it at its origin, that guy is so anxious that you know, and we do have kids like that. You're like, you know, what's wrong? You know, you think you go over and what's wrong with you? And he's like, you know, they're shaking, you know, and then they tell you that, I don't know, something silly. Now, that's not to say that the thing he's told you isn't the thing he's anxious about. He might be anxious about something else, which is obviously deeper. So we don't just fall it off and go, you know, it's okay, your cat will be okay, sort of thing. That might be a signal to tell you that maybe his daddy isn't coming home at night either, sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? So you have to read into that, and that's, you know, that's why teaching's got much harder, I think. You know, when I first started teaching, it was just, you know, you were a bit of a social worker, you were a bit of a, but and I don't mind that. I actually enjoy that bit of teaching more than anything. The grades bit is the thing that I don't enjoy about teaching. Other people will enjoy it. They'll be all over. You know, my class got 3 A's, and that doesn't do anything to me. Unfortunately, we're judged by that there, and we're not judged by getting Jimmy over his cat.
Yeah.
Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Whereas I'm more interested in getting Jimmy over his cat than I am getting Jimmy 3 A's in his A levels, because it's just more important to me that he feels okay, rather than he has the piece of paper to say that he's X, Y, or Z, that he's this smart or not this smart. Do you know what I mean? Because he can work on that. The other part's far more important. And I think now the pressures the teachers are under is they have to be an expert in all of them. Getting back there 1%, they have to be 2-3% as a social worker, 2-3% in grades, 2-3% in attendance. So everything, it's just too much at the minute for a lot of people. Whereas you would be. Whereas I focus, or I try and focus on the smaller things and get my way through that way, and let the other things sort of take over themselves. But a lot of people don't have the confidence to do that. They're fearful that if they don't get this grade, that they're gonna get a slap in the wrist. Because we're brought in at the end of the day. It's like D-Day, St. Peter's Gate, end of at the gate of St. Peter. Start of next year, we're brought in. Why did Donald Nugent not get an A? Here, how long have you got?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. How long have we got? We don't have this resource. We might not have a computer. There's all different reasons for it, sort of thing. But no one ever brings you in and say, "Here, did you know Donald missed 3 days," or sort of thing? Do you know anything about that? Whereas that would be more of a warning sign why Donald wasn't in for 3 days. They might do when you get the 6th year a wee tiny bit because of what you're saying, things are changing. But I'd be more interested in that aspect of it rather than the grades aspect. But that's why teachers are under massive pressure now, because they're under pressure to get everything right. And you'll not get everything right. You don't get everything right with your own kids. Never mind 1,000 kids a year. Do you know what I mean? And plus, you don't know whether you're going to get it right or not. You don't know. As we said before, I don't know until 10 years' time whether we've done a good job. I can get someone into university. Is that a big deal? You have to get through university then. Then you have to get through, so maybe university isn't the place for him. Yeah. So, again, times are changing. University mightn't be the thing for him. It might be giving them a wee bit of advice. Go and be a joiner. Go and do a course in, I don't know, computer technology, whatever it is. It's not the paper cutter sort of go to school, get your GCSEs, get your A levels, go to university. That might not be the.
And get a 9 to 5, like we just talked 100%. About. It's like
and we're pushing people to get them into university. University might be the right place for them, but society's norms suggest that it is. So norms are changing and need to change.
100%, and I think, and I've talked about it before in this podcast, about us as a society thinking that we'll have to have all our ducks in a row. Like, so you're born, primary school, whatever, do all them things, secondary school, university, job, meet a girl, get married, start a family, work the rest of your life, retire, die. And it's like, there's a lot more scope, there's a lot more living to be done. And I suppose...
The mad thing is, that's your 1% again almost.
Yeah.
Who does that anymore?
Well, that's my point.
Who does that?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? My granny's 100 this year, and here, she's probably done it. But I don't know any, she done all that, went back, blah, blah, blah. But who does it? Like, I mean, your friends and my friends in your friendship group, very few people have done all that. And it doesn't mean that they're unhappy. Yeah. They're happy because they've done something else. That's not don't try and be that 1%. Try and do what you think you need to do to make that you can sleep at night.
There's no rule book for life, right?
100%.
But how we then so you say there's a guy there and he's sort of shaking or whatever, we have seen different, whenever I was 16 for an example, Marty, I went to the doctors and was sort of telling them how I was feeling, but it's funny because I never put on that. You say there, whenever I got to 4th year, 5th year, then we're starting to have more conversations. There's that sort of maturity, and I think the best way is just to look at me. That's just an easier way to use as an example. But do you ever see the advert on TV where the guy's out partying with all his mates, and he comes home and he pulls the mask off, and he's looking at himself in the mirror? That's the best way I can sort of describe 5th, 6th, and 7th year and fucking St. Mary in the ranch and my life until I went and got putting on this perception that I'm this person. And it's it's kind of scary.
But I saw through that.
That's what I'm going to say.
100%.
Could you notice that? I'm head boy of the school, trying to be the fucking pivot of this sort of.
That's one of the reasons you want to be head boy. That's one of the reasons. I know that. I knew that. But what can I do?
Well, like on reflection, say, like if you notice them sort of like we're talking about patterns of behaviour. You said about a teacher, and I might misquote you here, about nearly like a human behaviour analyst. Did you say at the start?
We're students of human behaviour, so to speak.
And that's so interesting because so if you the rating was on, and I noticed even with me, like the rating was on the wall fucking all along.
Yeah.
So would you approach that differently?
I still don't know how I'd approach you. I knew what you were. I knew what you were doing. I because I knew you probably so well. I knew that things weren't. Now would have known the in depth you were taking drugs and at an idea you were probably doing, but I wouldn't have known how low you were, you know, or how low you've since come out to say you were. I wouldn't have been aware of that, but I knew you weren't being you. And there's other kids. I still don't know. I still don't. It's like you can take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink it. Do you know what 100%. I mean? So there's Donald Nugent, but there's another 20 Donald Nugents in your year group who we have to deal with as well, sort of thing, like, you know, and we're trying to get him out of this and him out of that. We don't get it wrong. We don't get it wrong too often with regards to, you know, patterns and stuff like that there. But I still don't think, and I'm saying that, I still don't think, me personally, I know how to help, so to speak, you know, to help, you know, with you. Then it was a wee bit, when you get a wee bit older, it was like befriending you. Mom, going to the gym, we'll do a wee bit of, you know, so we can get inside your head a wee tiny bit, and
remember them days, like
try and sort of figure you out a wee tiny bit more, sort of thing, like, you know. So that's why you would do something like that, and bring it down a wee tiny bit, and try and change our relationship status from student teacher to teacher friend, you know, when you're upper sixth, sort of thing, you know, because you're seeing people outside, and you were playing senior hurling then and stuff like that there, like, you know, and it's just, I would try and do it just by talking the way we are now, but in that, rather than saying, here, come on and talk a wee second, don't know, we'll come in and sit in the room, because then it just looks like a student teacher sort 100%. Of thing, like, you know, whereas we'll go in, we used to do a bit of core work and stuff, and then I used to just talk crap about my life, how I would deal with things. So they're a communication tool, hoping you're going to try going, oh, maybe I should do that, or maybe I should, rather than me saying, don't, you should do this. You don't want to be told what to do as an 18, 17-year-old. That won't work. Me telling you what to do won't work. All I can maybe do is tell you some stories of how it didn't work with other people. And it probably sounds like I'm bitching about wee Jimmy or wee Paddy or whatever, but I'm only doing that then to basically make you think, oh, do you know what? Maybe that'll happen to me, or maybe I won't be this year, or maybe this year won't happen. And so it's basically just trying to BS your way around it. That's the way I deal with it an awful lot with students at your level. But we don't have the time to do that. I don't have the time anymore, because again, I'm trying to get your BTEC sport. I'm trying to get you, you know, through this here, and they're all the things. They're all the things that I get basically graded on. I don't get graded on bringing you in for an hour and doing a bit of core work for you and doing all that, but that's all the groundwork. You know, no one asked me anything about that. We don't get, you know, but to me that's what I get paid for. I'd rather get paid for that than you come out with your flipping BTEC sport level 3. Do you know what I mean? Listen, if you hadn't got that, it wouldn't annoy me in the slightest, like, you know. But at the end of the day, that's what you wanted, that's what your ma wanted, that's what your dad wanted, so that's what we had to sort of aim for, and that's what ultimately we got. But it doesn't mean anything to you now. Do you know what I mean? Whereas I spent so much effort trying to get it. I probably spent as much effort trying to change you as a person, or trying to. But I gotta remember, there's another 10 Donald Nugents that year.
100%.
And that's, so we just don't have the time or the resources to do all that there sort of thing. And that's frustrating. It
is frustrating, and it's also very interesting, isn't it? But it's like, and we're talking about human beings here, and I've been asked then to do a couple of like corporate gigs and talk about sort of the person behind, and I always talk about the person behind the job title. So you're not, and you mentioned there are a couple of things, even like maybe you're missing 3 days, and that's what I sort of try to incorporate into that sort of corporate sort of talk, is like, right, okay, if someone is sort of 10 minutes late every day, instead of going in and giving that person a drill, and it's like, can I ask why that person's 10 minutes late every day if he's not performing, if he doesn't look good? Like, and we've noticed that, like, with kids in school, even back working there a couple of years ago, with fucking holes in their shoes and all this sort of crack, and it's scary. But obviously it is a staffing issue, but I think that awareness is a big thing here, and making us aware. And like, I can firmly say now, like, hand on heart, that you're not a dick, and you're a really, really good person.
Well, I can neither confirm nor deny. I would say I probably still am, but it doesn't annoy me because sometimes I may have to sacrifice myself being a dick.
Yes.
For someone else to be a better, to help someone else.
Yeah.
Sometimes I may just have to do it, and it doesn't. As I said to you before, I'm happy and listen. There's a queue of people calling me. Join the queue. It doesn't annoy me.
Yeah.
But I might think that's the right thing to do, to help you out or to help someone else out. At the time, I may look like a dick, and still now I might look like a dick. But again, we're not here all looking fan club sort of thing. It's can I sleep at night? Yeah. And I go to bed, sleep at night, and going. If I thought I was being a dick for the sake of being a dick, I wouldn't be able to sleep at night.
Yeah.
Because I have to get up the next morning and face you and see you in the community and see you. I'm just not a school teacher.
Yeah. You're a person too, by the way.
My kids go to school in West Belfast. I teach them. I've lived in West Belfast for a long time. I'm there all the time. So, like, if I have to keep that sort of that neutral stance sort of also because I walk up and down the road every day, and so there has to be sort of that sort of even bar. As long as I think I'm doing the right thing and I can sleep at night, then I'm happy with it.
You're okay with
if
that.
Other people think that it's wrong, well, so be it. We'll debate it 10 years time.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think 10, 20 years time, if I go to bed now and I think have it dealt with things wrongly? I probably have in quite a lot of things, but has it been life changing? No, it hasn't. But I'd like to think of help more people than have hindered. I would like to think
100%, and I think that's why I've said it there a couple of times. I said it in a message that I sent you a couple of years ago that the impact that you have had in my life, not in that time, but 3, 4, 5, 6 years later, has been fucking incredible. Like, thank you. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't mean a lot
when
to me,
I say
I
don't really mean it. I mean we.
I get that.
Just not me. I'm talking about because you're sitting there with me. I'm using the word "I" an awful lot, but I mean we as teachers, 100%. We as coaches, we as parents. That's I'm using the reverse royal eye.
Of course,
sort of thing,
because there's a whole big umbrella and there's a whole LaSalle ethos.
And everyone looks at it different ways. But I mean, I was brought up that way from my teachers, so that's where the ethos comes along. And I like to think that that we have good relationships with 99% of the guys that we teach with, who would still walk down the road and say hello to them. Like, and that doesn't happen in an awful lot of schools. Do you know what I mean?
Because even Terry McCrudden, he works for us doing all that social media stuff, and I sent him a photo of you earlier and it says the main man's on the day, and the reply was he's a legend. And that's someone you taught even longer than me. Do you know what I mean? So there's the impact that you've had, I suppose, within people. So you, as in LaSalle and the ethos and people like Yuki and Alex McGilligan.
It's all the boys, 100%. Like, I'm the weakest link in that whole group of all them people. But I'm just learning all the time from them guys, and then I like to think the younger guys coming into our school. I'm one of the older guys now. I'm saying I'm the weakest link. I come in as the weakest link. All them guys are all legends. And then I'm trying to, a lot of them are away and a lot of them are going. And I've got guys who I teach now who are in teaching with me sort of thing. So you have to change your strategy a wee tiny bit. You're turned into a wee bit more of a role model. So you have to watch your behaviours a wee tiny bit. You can't be as negative as you would have been because you don't want to drag them down. You change your strategies a wee tiny bit, and you have to sort of be aware of that. But it's definitely the biggest thing in all our lives, I think, our school, and it's something that you and I'll probably always have in common. Like just the school.
And it's class. Just to finish off, I suppose, like a lot of stuff we could talk here for the next couple of hours about some of the stuff I talk about, some of the stuff that I want to talk about, we didn't really get a chance. But it's no biggie in terms of the running. You're going away tomorrow. You're doing Manchester Marathon. By the way, so I do want to touch on this, Marty, and I think that it's really, really important because like you're doing all these runs, you're doing everything, and I think that whenever we spoke, I don't know whether it was an incident, but you were born with your calf.
Two club feet. So both my legs were born. Both my feet were born backwards. Right one was born backwards, left foot. So the foot was facing the other way. So the right one was able to be massaged over 2 or 3 years round. The left one had to take the soleus out. So I've no soleus on my left. So here there's like 120 stitches or whatever. So I've no I've no so even when I do planter, that's me doing it with my right foot, and that's me doing it with my left foot. There's no flexion or anything. So it's basically a bit like a wooden leg sort of thing, like, you know.
And
but see, I don't think it's only, I don't think the only reason I got injured once years ago and went up with Dan Turley, and Dan Turley's like, look at the shape of your leg, like, yeah, that's, you shouldn't be. And I was like, listen, I don't know any different. You know, it's only when I think back to basketball, I can't jump off that leg or whatever. It just became normalised. My parents didn't make a big deal out of it. It wasn't, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't. It was just, it's just normal, like, you know. Now, does it handicap me in any way? I'll never know, because I don't have a proper one, sort of thing. Probably does, like, you know, because I've no kick off that leg. But it's never stopped me. And now, it's a good thing in school. It's a bit of a story. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, you can do this, or, you know, because that's why I'm saying earlier on, I shouldn't be around. You know, I'm not super talented. I'm not super athletic, and I probably am average or in most things, like, you know. But this was my 10%, or this was me going for the, you know. I found it a bit of talent, so I pushed it a wee tiny bit. Again, I didn't. You said could have made a life out of it. Probably could have. Back in the late 2000s, you know, there was a wee bit of a market for it over in America. Maybe could have went over and made a few quid or whatever. But, you know, I'd have probably made a few quid for a couple of years. Then had to come back here and start teaching, you know, and start again. So there was no, again, to be that 1% that I needed to do it. I don't think I did. So I probably got the 5. Yeah. You know, and nothing really changed because there's no kids in, and kids come along, and then, you know, I go back down to 10, you know, do that their way, sort of thing. So instead of trying to win things, it might be trying to run further, because that's winning at the end of the day. You know, it's mad. You know, you tell someone you run 100 miles, they go, wow. But you tell someone, you know, like, I always laugh at somebody like Paul McKee, who went to our school. I don't know if you know Paul. Paul's an Olympian, 400 metre Olympian. Outstanding talent, far more talent than him there is in my left finger. But people are more interested in me running 100 miles, and he ran 400 metres in 44 seconds, which is phenomenal. But the first question he probably gets asked is, here, do you ever run a marathon? He's like, no, but I can run 40. You know, I'm Irish champion. I was at the Olympics 2 or 3 times. You know, so people are fascinated by distances and, you know, boundaries and stuff like that. So Paul's whole thing was he wanted to break 45 seconds, whereas mine is, can I run 100 miles? Can I run for a day? Can I run for 2 days without stopping? Can I run for 3? You know what? You know, it's just trying to break barriers, and you can keep doing that for as long as your body allows you, I think, you know.
Thanks, Marty.
No problem.
Class. I loved it.
Problem. Thank you, Don. This was the last hour of my week's holiday.
Was it?
You know what I mean?
No better way to spend it.
In theory, now I'm not on holiday anymore.
No, you're not. I've mentally put you back into school.
Mentally put me back to school. Thank you.
No, it was great having you. I think there's a lot of things there that, you know, we could learn from Marty's approach to life. There's a few quotes there we'll definitely have to take out of that and clip and put them out there. Outstanding, and I think it's, you know, only testament, I suppose, if there's any young people listening, and I'm sure there's some of your students listening, like the impact that the teachers do have on us, and it's not just for today or tomorrow, it's for 5, 10, 20, 30 years maybe down the line. And some of the wee nuggets and tools that I've sort of got from LaSalle, me and Fitzy spoke about this a lot too, and even Chris Kerr was on the podcast about that ethos, and you can sort of spot a LaSalle person a mile away by maybe how they present themselves or how they are with other people, and that's what it's all about. Not what's above your name and beside your name, creating the culture and being good people, because we're all only human beings trying our best at the end of the day. So no, thanks very much, Marty, and thank you all for listening this week. I will see you all next week, another fantastic guest on. So yeah, thank you, and a huge thanks to Used Cars NI again. Hit them up on www.usedcarsni.com if you're looking to buy a car, looking to sell a car, anything in between. Get all your car needs on there. So huge thanks to them, and see you all soon. Thank you.